If you heard menacing claps coming from the depths of an almost abandoned cruise ship, trying to lure you into darkness so that you can be tortured by the spawns of evil, what would you do? Well, you go check it out, of course. Like this young girl right here? No, she did not survive this night, in case you have pondered about her plot armor, because it wasn't very thick. Now in this video, we follow the characters of this Bollywood movie called Bhoot, look at the mistakes they make and figure out better ways on how to survive and beat the ghosts in Bhoot. Which is funny because Bhoot means ghost in Hindi, lol. Anyway, a rich family rented a cruise ship to celebrate festivities. The bad thing was, this ship was haunted, so they have disappeared and probably became parts of the ship themselves. At least that's how the story goes for now. This is Mr. P, our main guy. He's a policeman and the subject of our gentle judgments here. He has lost both his wife and his daughter in a tragic accident a few years ago, for which he somewhat was responsible. Later more to that. His mental health is, not really good, so just keep that in mind. As a police officer, our character is currently investigating a human trafficking operation. When he's looking for any signs of human abduction on this large vessel, he comes across a container filled with young women that were meant to be shipped to who knows where. It's a heartbreaking moment, but good job, P. Now they collectively escape and our character is celebrated the hero the day after. However, here is where things get interesting. During the last night, two curious things happened. First, when our character P arrived at home, he quite literally hallucinated his daughter and had a full-blown conversation with her, which freaked me out. Because this either implies that he is mental, or he's just imagining things for the sake of his trauma management. Now the second relevant event that has occurred was the arrival of this huge vessel, later called the Ghost Ship, that has stranded on the local beach in Mumbai. No signs of any life on it. The next day, our duo P and his partner Riaz are put onto this case. Their job? Figure out what this ship is doing here and get it off the coast ASAP. But before that can happen, a lovely couple thinks it is a good idea to go on this ship for an adventure the following night. The weird thing is, they don't even bother to livestream that on Twitch, which I find stupid, because if you risk your life just like that, then at least you should try to make some money off of it, no? Anyway, both of them get onto the ship and start their exploration. Apparently, it is well known that this ship is haunted, hence why they decided to explore. A fatal mistake. The girl hides herself in a closet to give her boyfriend the shock of a lifetime, and it somehow worked. But not quite. Why in God's name would you go on a haunted ship, hide yourself in a tight and rusty wall closet, call your boyfriend and then pretend you're a ghost? I don't think that's a very smart idea. It might be fun with a team of people filming stuff and back each other up, but a lovely couple that split up to creep each other out? I don't think so. Bad idea. Well, I guess this was the last time we have seen them, at least in human form, if you know what I mean. Now, the next day our policemen are on the ship as well, trying to find hints of what happened. P and Riaz have to find something or else they're done for. Now they decide to split up and P goes to explore the interior. Now this ship is massive. In fact, you will need a map if you don't want to get lost, and let's not talk about productively scan this ship on your own terms, because that's impossible. If this was me, I would not have touched this ship with a 10-foot pole. I would send in a squadron of my men while I puff a cigarette outside on the deck, and I don't even smoke. Anyway, P goes through the ship, floor by floor, room by room, until he enters this one. And for some reason he checks underneath the bed and finds a puppet that he for some reason wants to collect. It seems like his daughter had the same version, which is obviously a bit strange. He tries to grab the puppet but he can't reach it. It seems like she gets pulled away every time he reaches out. When he picks up a pole to lengthen his reach and goes for another attempt, the puppet is gone. Now doubting his sense of reality, he is creeped out until the sound of the puppet goes off again, but this time she lies behind him. Now, as we know, he frequently hallucinates, so was this his mind playing tricks or was this for real? You see, many people with these issues face the same problems, right? They experience hallucinations that are as real as experiences can get, making it almost impossible to distinguish between reality and hallucinations. So, a happening like this one isn't an easy one to digest. So what I would do after this experience is this, okay? I would not go back. In the best case, this place triggers hallucinations in me that are not good because it reminds me of my traumatic childhood or whatever. And in the worst case, this place is haunted and a ghost will attempt to rape me. So either way, it's a bad thing to go back, right? But what if it's too late? What if having been there once is enough to have you being haunted as well? Well then, you better call some Haitians and get that curse off of you, best believe. When our characters tries to rejuvenate with a good night of sleep, unfortunately, this is what happens. The frame of his late wife and daughter crashes down. The creepy puppet from before is suddenly in his hands, and for some reason he hears his dead girl's voice screaming for his name. This is creepy. If this was me, I would freak out. The next day, P goes back to the ship with his partner. He hasn't confessed anything about what happened, but seems to understand that going back there alone would be a mistake. He looks for hints and signs and collects various items in that room. When they leave again, he loses Riaz on his way out. When he tries to find his friend, he comes across a perfectly fine room. With nice furnishing, no dust, it's just in perfect condition. He is weirded out. He flicks out his phone and shoots a few pictures just to be sure. Is this for real, or is his mind playing tricks again? Now when he goes to the balcony to check for more hints, he is surprised by a fat, orange overall wearing dude that storms out and falls over the railing. But after taking a look, there is no one there, until he turns around and is attacked by the same guy, implying that this is a ghost as well. But things get even stranger. When he visits Riaz, he is hesitant to share his story. And let's be honest, okay? I would hesitate too. Most people would. This isn't something that you would freely share whenever you like it. What he does though is he takes out his phone and wants to show Riaz the neat room that he has found on board, thinking the conversation will automatically shift into what he wants to share anyway. The crazy thing though is that the room on his photos is as rotten as every other room on this ship. Which wasn't the case when he took them, obviously. If he was on edge before, imagine how this dude is feeling now. At the same time, Riaz's wife feels that something isn't right. She calls P and takes him to the principal Yoshi, a scientist that develops electronic gadgets. Like our character P, he too has lost his family due to an accident some time ago. Based on that, she thought it might be a good idea for them to get to know each other. However, when they meet, this is what happens. The EMF device goes off, obviously implying supernatural presence. What would cause me to grab the next bottle of salt and draw a circle while mumbling exorcism lines I have picked up from the Winchesters, they just brush it off as a malfunction. Amateurs. Let's see what happens next. Remember the couple that was stupid enough to explore the ghost ship? Well, the girl's body was found on the beach the day after. This causes a nationwide outcry and our characters are exceedingly put under pressure to get rid of that large ship. They decide to visit the owner of the vessel, who somehow looks like a Buddha with a Rolex. To negotiate the removal of the ship, they double the fines and threaten him as well. But he doesn't budge, he doesn't care. However, when P asks why the engine room is shut, the guy seems concerned. He acts as if there was something hiding in there that should be kept locked in. He then tells that the ship is haunted and that he doesn't want anything to do with it. Now P finally considers that the strange happenings around him might have been triggered by his visits and the contact with the puppet from before. His negative state due to the loss of his family might be the reason why only he is haunted and not Riaz himself. Ghosts are easier to haunt people with depressions and other mental maladies. That is, if you believe in such things, of course. Now, during the following night, we finally find out how his family died. When they went to river rafting, he ignored his wife's concerns about the dangers. Unfortunately, he convinced his wife thoroughly that it was safe and that he would keep her and their daughter safe. She really wanted to skip that adventure but was convinced otherwise. In the end, the boat flipped and both his wife and daughter drowned after having been carried away by the strong current. Considering that, it's no wonder that he keeps hallucinating strange things, right? Now, after waking up from another nightmare, he does what everybody would do, okay? He dresses up, gets ready, and gets on his way to the ship in the middle of the night, without any backup. Why would you do that, right? And why would you do that waking up at 2 a.m.? I don't know, it doesn't make sense. Especially waking up from a nightmare in which you got screamed at by your dead family bleeding from their eyes. Jesus, dude. That's kind of ridiculous, but let's go with that for now. It doesn't take a minute being on that ship until he already starts hearing strange sounds. He follows the sounds but almost falls into his death. He eventually wakes up lying on the floor of the engine room. At least, he made it this far. He quickly realizes that he is in trouble and tries to contact his friend. But he can't get a signal, duh. As he tries to find a way out, good luck with that, he hears some menacing claps that the young girl at the beginning of this movie heard as well. Not a good sign. Like a rat in a maze, he has no clue where to go. He makes it up a couple of ladders, passes a few rooms, but doesn't really get very far. Remember, this isn't just a haunted ship, it's also abandoned, meaning pretty much everything in here is old and rusty and frankly dangerous to walk on. I mean, from a rational standpoint, this should have been reason enough to stay away. At the same time though, Riaz has figured out that something might be wrong. He looks out for P but can't find him at home. He randomly checks out the beach, because apparently that's where people go when they vanish, but P isn't there obviously. Now meanwhile, P is still trying to escape. Something is behind him. He can just barely make it to the upper floor, and then finally he's just facing one more door until he is under the sky again. He tries to break out, but it's no luck. At the same time, the ghosts are getting closer, and then, we all knew this was coming, he is standing off the clapping ghost of the haunted ship. I see two options here. Either you surrender, in which case you will likely die, or you run up to that bitch and smack her with your flat hand, screaming, "You can't see me, bitch." But the choice is yours. I know what I would do. What would you do? Either way, just before she can pierce our main character with her supernatural power, the door next by blasts open and Riaz comes for rescue. At this moment, he too can finally see the ghost and realizes that his friend isn't completely crazy. Just a little bit maybe. Now, they run through the door, somehow make it out in 7 seconds only, jump into the sea, and are safe. For now. Obviously, there is something going on with this ship. The question is, what is it? Now, P goes over the footage of the ship once again. By now, we have found out that this footage captured the crew that was working on the ship many years ago. By analyzing the footage, he comes across a guy in an orange overall that makes the same clapping sound that is heard when the ghost is attacking. This makes him curious. What is the connection between this dude and the strange events? He also concludes that the footage was captured by the mother of the kid who was celebrating her birthday in the beginning of this movie, who was lured into the darkness. When he presents all of this to his team, they quickly conclude that the ghost they have seen might actually not be a ghost, but a possessed human instead. In fact, it might be the 3-year-old kid from the beginning, just older now, of course. They decide to search for survivors that were actually part of the crew before the haunting began. But it turns out that the whole crew has mysteriously committed suicide 3 years after they were captured because of smuggling charges. Just one name wasn't mentioned, and that name was Vandana, who surprisingly is Mira's mother as well. When they find her, this is what happens.
मीरा जिंदा है.
Surprised that her daughter is still alive, she starts telling our guys the whole story. Basically, she was a captive on this ship and was continuously abused by the captain, who was a notorious smuggler. They would smuggle all sorts of things, and everyone who tried to come clean would be murdered by him. Vandana here eventually fell in love with the guy who wore the orange overall in the footage before. He tried to expose all wrongdoings of the captain, but before he could do that, two things happened. First, Vandana got pregnant with his baby, although the captain believed it was his and thus stopped abusing her. And he, before he could expose anything, got caught and tortured before he was killed, implying it is his ghost that has been haunting this ship ever since his murder, and it was also him who lured Mira into the darkness and possessed her in the beginning of this movie, because she is his child. Now that everything makes sense, I think it is time to beat the ghosts. And that is exactly what our characters plan as well. Vandana has hinted that the secret room lies somewhere inside the ship, claiming if we want to stop this curse, we need to find that room. When they arrive at the ship, for some reason they tell the only person who knows where to go to wait outside, because it's too dangerous for her. I don't know what's more dangerous than getting lost inside a haunted ship, but whatever. Now, it doesn't take 5 minutes until the first L is being taken. They get to the first ladder on their way to the engine room. Yash gets down safely, but when P is about to climb down, this happens. He is smacked with a tele hook and crashes down violently, hitting the ground with his back. But don't worry, okay, because crashing down 35 feet or 12 meters in this movie doesn't mean the end. Nope, because he gets up again with a light concussion and is ready to finally fight the spawns of evil. Meanwhile, Riaz being stuck up here makes his first ghostly encounter. However, he is able to react quickly and escapes for now. At the same time, the two guys downstairs contact Vandana with their walkie-talkies, but unfortunately can't get a stable connection going. This leads her to decide that it is time for her to enter the building as well, but not before we get some cliche scenes where she sees her little girl running away from her in slow motion. How sweet. The boys are finally reaching the engine room. However, to get to the secret port, the room must be opened from afar, which Vandana, since she's entered, is able to activate with the perfect timing. Thank you. The doors open and both dudes can enter the last room of the dungeon. What they plan is this. They want to find the bones and burn them. Nothing special, I know, but that stuff tends to work when facing ghosts. So, fair play. Unfortunately though, both of them have no fuel at hand, because they lost the cans when P got knocked down. However, Riaz, who has successfully escaped the ghost upstairs, has figured that out, and activates some sort of magic device that allows Diesel to flood the exact same room where P and Yoshi are intending to burn the bones. Sometime good old luck is all you need, or some movie magic. Whatever. Before they're able to light up the room, they were attacked by Mira, which causes Yoshi to lose consciousness. Before she can finish them off, Vandana joins as well. Family reunion. Mira leaves and Vandana meets up with P. However, when he touches her, her memories rush through his mind, showing him the truth that it was her who actually killed her daughter's father, and that it was her that actually caused this whole drama here. Great. Just at that moment, the last boss joins. He quickly kills off Vandana and is about to kill the other guys as well. But before that can happen, P releases the machinery, causing the bones of our target to fall into the diesel-infested waters. A last fight breaks out, but in the end, by throwing an axe across the map and hitting the metal bar in a perfect angle, causing sparks to go loose, P is able to light up the water, and the bones burn in a bright light. Therefore, P is able to defeat the boss and peace can finally be restored. However, this isn't the end, my friends, because what would a cliché ghost movie be without a twist? That's right, P adopted Mira, and now they're enjoying themselves, eating pasta and enjoy themselves. Damn, this was a weird movie, and frankly, while the acting was solid, it didn't quite hold up for me. What do you think? Well, this wasn't the worst movie I have ever watched. I wonder what the worst movie is that you have ever watched. Let me know in the comments, and I'll see you soon. Binge another one. Thanks for watching. Peace.